The Investec Australia Property Fund owns office, industrial and real estate properties located in Australia.
Yes, which of course is an area or a region which Investec had some traditional expertise is. They started out with a Canberra-based property, but as you can imagine, everything in Australia is wonderful. So that portfolio looks pretty high quality too.
4.4 billion rand and a historic yield of 5.6%. JP.
Good portfolio. I like the structure of the portfolio, and also one of those inward listed companies where you do have the risk that the South African investors push the valuation above what it should be if it wasn't listed here. But if you look at Investec Australia versus the other Australian listed property companies, it actually is not too expensive. So I think that gives one the comfort that you're not buying into a hothouse effect in South Africa of South African investors pushing up prices above fair value. And I think with the track record that Investec has in Australia in their property development activities, that also gives me some comfort. And the Australian economy is doing relatively well. We know resources are under some pressure, but you have a big influx of Chinese money into the property market, more residential than industrial and office, which is Investec Australia's focus. But I like the portfolio, so I like Investec Australia.
And let's check in on the performance, Paul. That's a good looking, except for that spike in 2016. Performance
and again,
has
I
been
guess you'd have to
solid.
have some view on the Australian dollar relative to the South African rand, which might have done a bit of moving. And
what
a bit
caused
of this,
that spike in 2016? JP?
I think there was a corporate action regarding a scrip dividend that some investors didn't quite understand the mechanics, and it spiked for a day or two.
But this is not a bad call. It looks as though you're both erring on the side of a positive one for
Yeah, I mean, again, they've got
Investec Australia.
A good reputation in that market. Apparently, they've got a financial joint venture with Westpac, which I'm sure would be able to roll. And there's plenty, I suppose. But it is a competitive market. But, you know, people like this sort of exposure. I think the stock will continue to trade.
How much exposure would you have in a portfolio? Let's just take the hot stocks portfolio for instance. We've got, 16, 17 stocks. And if we wanted property exposure, would you look at both the calls that you've made in terms of Rockcastle and Nepi?
I would. I personally own both of those. I think they can really enhance the yield side of a portfolio. Plus, you have some growth in those two stocks specifically. So, in my mind, having 10% in stocks like that, global property that gives you both yield and growth, I think can really enhance a portfolio.
So give me a call on Australia Property Fund.
Not as hot as the other two, but I will also nudge towards hot.
Yeah.
Paul?
Let's give it the tip. Hot. Yeah.